There was a big fire at Company X. When I heard about it, I felt like someone had hit me on the head. My husband worked there. I hoped he was okay. I quickly called him, praying that he had escaped the fire. The phone rang. Then, as if my prayers had been answered, I heard his voice. Hello? Max? Where are you? Are you safe? I was so relieved that my voice got louder. But Max sounded annoyed. Why are you yelling? I'm at work. Don't call me while I'm working. Then he hung up. At least he wasn't caught in the fire. But his reaction was strange. My name is Mona. I'm 32 years old. I'm a nurse, and my job is very important to me. I got married 3 years ago when I was 29. I was lucky to get married before turning 30. I met my husband, Max, through a friend. We got along well from the start and have been happy together. We live in company housing. Even though we've been married for 3 years, we don't have kids yet. But I believe we can build a happy family. Max can be selfish sometimes, but he is usually kind. He tells me he loves me, and I feel safe with him. But lately, he's been very busy with work. Even on his days off, he works a lot. Maybe that's why he doesn't pay much attention to me at home. After dinner, he sits on the sofa with the TV on, but he doesn't really watch it. He just looks at his phone the whole time. When I talk to him, he only says things like, yeah, or, oh. At first, I thought I might have upset him, but then I told myself he was just tired. So, I tried to take care of him by making healthy meals every day. Then, one day, something strange happened. The night before, a coworker asked me to switch shifts. I was supposed to work at night, but now I had to work during the day. Since I had already told Max I'd be working at night, I thought I should let him know about the change. But I was busy, so I emailed him that same day. I told him I'd be home and would make dinner for him. He didn't reply. I figured he was busy, so I focused on my own work. When I finished my work, my husband still hadn't replied. He used to answer quickly, even when he was busy. Sometimes, he even used emojis. But this time, he just read my message and didn't reply. Was he too busy? Or was this just normal after 3 years of marriage? Feeling a little sad, I stopped by the supermarket and bought ingredients to cook a healthy dinner for him. Since it was very cold, I decided to make a hot pot. I chopped the ingredients and waited for him to come home so I could start cooking right away. But no matter how long I waited, he didn't come. He usually comes home at 7 p.m. But today, he didn't get back until 9 p.m. Welcome home. You're late. Did you have to work overtime? Oh, yeah. But did you switch to the day shift suddenly? Yeah. A coworker had an emergency. I forgot to tell you sooner. I see. Well, I guess you couldn't help it, but it's annoying that you only told me today. I might have made plans to go out for a drink. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I turned on the stove to start cooking the hot pot. Oh, you haven't eaten yet? He asked. No. I waited for you. Well, thanks, but next time, you don't have to wait for me. Hearing that made me feel a little sad. Once the hot pot was ready, I served both of us. I was starving after waiting so long. I enjoyed the food, thinking it was delicious, but I noticed my husband wasn't eating much. What's wrong? You're not eating. He hesitated, then said, actually, I was working late, so a junior colleague bought me a rice bowl. I'm not really hungry. Oh, then you should have told me. I wouldn't have made this if I had known. I think he noticed I was upset. Okay, just put my portion in the fridge. I'll eat it tomorrow morning, he said casually. Then he lay down on the couch. A few minutes later, he suddenly got up. I'm going for a walk, he said. That's unusual, I replied. I haven't exercised much, and I've been working late, so I need a break. He started getting ready to go out. I felt empty sitting alone at the table, so I said I'd go with him. But he refused. He said walking right after eating wasn't good for me. He also said he wanted to take a long walk alone. In the end, he left by himself. I felt something was off. So, I decided to follow him. And my worst fear came true. He walked quickly and stopped in front of a park far from our house. He looked around and checked his phone, like he was waiting for someone. A few minutes later, a car pulled up. My husband walked over and started talking to the driver. I moved closer to see better. Then, I saw her. She had long, curly hair and bright lipstick. She was a woman. She laughed happily as my husband got into the passenger seat. He was cheating. Before I could even think, the car had already driven away. I stood there, frozen. Then, my phone buzzed. A text from my husband. I happened to run into someone I know. I'll be home a little late. Someone he happened to meet? Just like that? I didn't believe him at all. He said he had already eaten, but he didn't come home until past 2 a.m. He didn't even notice I was awake. He looked a little drunk and went to the kitchen for some water. After that night, he often worked late, but only when I was on the day shift. It was already hard for us to have the same days off. Now, it felt impossible. Yesterday, he had overtime. Today, he has to work on his day off. But, is he really working? I kept wondering if my husband was meeting the woman I saw that night. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So, I searched online for detective agencies. Before I knew it, I had sent a request to the most reliable one. I felt guilty for investigating behind his back, but if nothing was going on, I could trust him again. That's why I decided to go through with it. Waiting for the results was tough. My husband stayed quiet as usual, but every time I saw his face, I thought about that woman. I wanted to know the truth as soon as possible. Then something shocking happened. It was Saturday. I was working my usual day shift, and my husband was also supposed to be at work, even though it was his day off. I was focused on my job, thinking that since we were both busy, I didn't have to worry about anything. Then, I heard sirens in the distance. The sound got louder and louder. At first, I thought the fire trucks would just pass by, but more sirens followed. It wasn't just one fire truck, there were 2 or 3 more. It had to be a big fire nearby. I started feeling uneasy. Then, 2 of my colleagues returned from a hospital room with serious expressions. They were talking about the fire. "You mean the fire?" I asked. "Yes," one of them replied. "Apparently, there's a big fire at Company X." My heart dropped. That was my husband's workplace. It felt like someone had hit me on the head. I quickly explained the situation to my colleagues and grabbed my phone to call my husband. "Please be safe," I thought as I dialed his number. Even though we hadn't been talking much lately, I always saw him off in the morning. I prayed that he had escaped the fire. The call rang. Then, I heard his voice. "Hello? Max, where are you? Are you safe?" I was so relieved that my voice got louder. But my husband sounded annoyed. "Why are you yelling? I'm at work, don't call me while I'm working." Then he hung up. At least he wasn't caught in the fire. But something felt off. A huge fire had broken out, and multiple fire trucks were at the scene. How could he still be working like normal? Did that mean he hadn't gone to work at all? And why was he acting so cold when I was just worried about him? Anger started building up inside me. Had I been sending him off to see another woman all this time? That's when I made up my mind. I was leaving. As soon as I got home, I started packing my things. When I checked the mailbox, I saw an envelope from the detective agency. The results of the investigation had arrived. I took them with me and left. My parents helped me pack, and I called a moving company right away. By the time I was done, the house was nearly empty. Looking at the room, I realized I didn't feel anything for this place anymore. For now, I moved back to my parents' house and started looking for a new place to live alone. The next day, my husband finally called me. "Hey, what's going on? Most of your stuff is gone." Of course, I moved out. What the hell are you thinking? When are you coming back? Who's going to cook for me? Who's going to do the house chores? I was shocked. After everything, that's all he cared about? As I listened to him, I thought about the fire at his company again. Instead of going to work, he had been with his affair partner. When I remembered everything, anger boiled inside me. "Why don't you ask another woman to take care of you?" I snapped. "Huh? What are you talking about?" he asked, sounding confused. "You were with a woman named Linda today, weren't you?" "What? No, I was at the office, working." "Oh, really? How long were you working today?" "It was a busy day, even though it was my day off. I had to stay until late evening." "I see, that's why you were so shocked when I moved out, right?" "Wait, what? Stop talking nonsense. Why don't you stop lying?" "Huh? You didn't go to work today, did you?" "I did, I was working. What's going on? How can you work all day when a fire broke out at your office?" Silence. "When I called you earlier, there were multiple fire trucks at your company. That's why I called. I was worried, but you acted like nothing was happening. Why?" "Well, and by the way, I hired a detective agency. I have proof of your affair. There's no way you can talk your way out of this. From now on, you'll deal with my lawyer. I'm getting alimony." "Oh no." My husband kept apologizing, begging for forgiveness. But I felt nothing for him anymore. "I'm sorry, but this is over. Goodbye." Wait. I met with my lawyer and filed for divorce. With all the evidence I had, there was no way for him to escape. Both my husband and his affair partner had to pay me alimony. I later found out that the woman was his junior colleague. The news of their affair spread quickly at work. Since they were sneaking around during a crisis, their coworkers looked down on them. Now, they're both drowning in shame. They deserve it. As for me, I moved into a new apartment and started fresh. I'm not rushing into another relationship. My job as a nurse is stable, and I'm enjoying my single life. Maybe one day, I'll meet a man who truly values me, but for now, I'm happy on my own.